This is difficult for me to do. It's extremely difficult. There's several family members that aren't happy that I'm doing it, but I'm not here to make my family look bad by any means, or anybody look bad. If anything was going to come out and be discussed about Eric, I wanted it to be the truth. And it was going to be done on my terms. This is my brother. If my brother can do something like this, then anybody can do something like this. I carried that burden for a long time, that I was responsible. I loved Eric. I know something was wrong with him. I couldn't fix it. He's been called evil. He's been called a monster. Do I think he was evil? Sure. Wouldn't you have to be evil to do something like that? This was taken at our church in Arkansas. It's my parents, every one of my siblings. It's a loving family in this picture. And it's before things went really crazy. Eric standing behind me. I am the 7th child out of 8. And Eric is 5 years older than me. I have a big smile on my face. But I never liked having my back to him, not even in photos. To most, he just looks like a handsome teenage young man that's polite and standing there with his family. But he was not like the rest of us. He was like a chameleon. He could turn into whatever he thought somebody needed him to be in order to get whatever it is he needed from them. Looking at him, the picture makes him look handsome and sweet, but at this age, that's the furthest from who he was. Not too many people, if any, really knew what he was capable of. I do believe that Eric was born a psychopath. I think he needed help at a very early age. He couldn't handle no's. He couldn't handle anybody trying to correct him. He was very defensive at all times, and anything could trigger him. One night, all of the siblings were at the dining room table playing cards. And Eric was fine. It was normal. Everybody was laughing. Everybody was having a good time. But I think he was cheating. He thought he was going to win, and he didn't win doing that.
Sorry, Eric. Cheat all you want. You're still going to lose.
And, I mean, he literally jumped up.
I wasn't cheating!
Just, the cards went all over the table, and he just, stormed out of there. He just snapped. It was like a switch. It was like he couldn't control it.
Come on, Eric. Don't be such a baby. Come back.
When he did come back in, he wasn't apologetic.
Help us pick these up.
When he got angry, or if something was said that he didn't like, his eyes seemed to get dark. He would have his fist just as tight as he could, and he had this look on his face. His lips would be tucked in, his eyes would be narrowed, and it was almost like he was huffing. And I learned that look at a very early age, and it was frightening. It was extremely frightening. We had rules. We didn't grow up in a naked house. The girls changed in their room with the door closed. The boys had their room. We didn't share the bathroom with the boys. The first time that I recall him sneaking up on me, I was in the bathroom. There was this closet behind the bathroom door. I didn't really realize he was in that closet until I was finished using the restroom. And when I saw the door to the closet move, I didn't know who was in there. So I had reached to the door and out pops Eric. And he just started laughing.
You scared me. I'm telling Mom. You'd better not.
And he said, if you tell anybody I was in here, I'll tell them you were lying. And it made me so uncomfortable. It just gave me this feeling of, wow, I've got to check behind the bathroom door now and open that closet next time I decide to go to the restroom. That wasn't uncommon for him to do things like that. He enjoyed scaring us and frightening us, and it was who he was. My neighbor, her daughter got a duck for Easter, and they didn't want to keep it. So they asked me if I wanted it, and I begged and begged and begged to keep it. And so my mom finally gave in. I named it Yellow Belly Quack Quack. She would follow me all around the yard, all around the neighborhood. I loved her. I was like her mom. And one day, I remember laying on my bed with the window open, and I was reading a book. And I could smell the grass that had been cut. I remember smelling that. And then I just remember hearing a commotion, and I just kind of, didn't pay much attention. And then I could kind of see out the corner of my eye my brother coming down the hall. He gets in my room, and he has my duck in a box. And he said, the dog's got your duck. And I'm like, what? Eric's just standing there holding the box like nothing. It was like no emotion whatsoever. And my duck is just crying and making these horrible noises. I'm looking at her and I'm like, this is not something a dog would do. I mean, it was like one of her wings was almost gone. You could see her insides. It was not a dog attack.
Mom! Mom!
My mom came in the room, and she asked what was going on. And Eric immediately said, some dogs got the duck, and Belinda's upset. And so Mom told Eric, finish her off and bury her.
You need to do it quick so she won't suffer.
I just remembered getting in my closet. I just sat in there and cried. I don't know how long I was in that closet. And Eric came back and opened the closet door. And he said, oh, I just wanted to tell you I buried your duck alive.
Yellow Belly was still crying when I buried her.
But I'm sure she's dead now. That's what he said. He goes, dogs didn't really get her. I ran over her with the lawnmower, and he laughed. It was like you could see his teeth and everything smile. It was like pride almost, because he could just see the shock and hurt in my face. He enjoyed hurting me. He enjoyed hurting my duck. It's not normal behavior for anybody. It's just not normal. I stayed in that closet the majority of the day. I just sat there, the doors closed in the closet. I cried myself to sleep. That was never brought up again. It's just one of those things that happen that you just don't speak about. I never got over that. Sorry. It's just cruel. It's just so cruel. And he was happy about it, which made it worse.
That left deep wound on me.
He knew right from wrong. I know he knew right from wrong. I think that there were just these urges that he had, and he had to act out on them. I don't know why he felt the need to torture me. It was just something Eric did, and he did it on a regular basis. I could be sitting in a room watching cartoons, and he would come in and start pacing. And he would have his fists drawn up and just the breathing. And if I was engrossed in the TV in a cartoon or something, you know, I would be sitting there watching it and not really paying that much attention. He actually would grab my hair and like yank my head back and forth just hard. He'd twist my arm really, really hard. And like he would literally pull my arm up as high as he could. And I would be screaming. And he would say, "Does that hurt?"
Ow! Stop it! Let go!
And of course you're saying, "Yes, please stop." But it didn't make him stop. It was an intentional hurt. He's laughing about it like it's a game to him.
Eric, let go of her. Stop it. Stop it.
To him, it was funny. My younger sister, to my knowledge, he never picked on her. And I always thought, what did I do to make him want to hurt me? I would talk with my mother about it. She said she would take care of it. But I don't believe my mom knew exactly how to handle him. She thought if she could protect him and guide him, that she could fix him. I actually stopped telling my mom when he would hurt me, because no matter what he did to me, there was no consequences. There was no kind of action. So I had to realize that Eric wasn't going to change when it came to me. I was an easy target. As Eric and I got older, he would find new ways to hurt me. It was just who he was. There was a pool that was just a few blocks from our house. I loved to get in the water with everybody else, but I could be playing, and then all of a sudden, you know, there goes my hair and I'm being pulled under. I knew immediately that it was Eric. And underwater I went. I was at the bottom of the pool, and I could not get up. He's standing on me. My eyes were open, and I could see him through the water, him looking down at me. I'm thinking, I'm going to drown and nobody's going to know. I'm going to drown. And then all of a sudden, I could see there was somebody else's legs there. Somebody pushed him, moved him off of me. And I come up and I'm choking. I remember crying just hysterically. When I told my sister what had happened, she was very concerned.
You stay here. I'll go get Mom.
No, don't.
She said she was going to go tell Mom and Dad, and I just would beg her not to do it because I didn't need him to do something worse next time. With Eric, you never knew how much worse it would be. This is Eric. I believe it would be 9th grade. It's about the age where he started getting into more trouble outside of the home. I've never liked this picture of him. This smile that he has on his face, I've seen that smile and it's so fake. And it's almost that smile where I got away with something. The same smile when he tortured my duck. The same smile when he told me he buried her alive. I stayed as far away from him as I could. Eric was getting in trouble with the law at this point because police officers were already showing up at our house. One day, a police vehicle pulled up, and my dad goes outside to speak with them, and then my mom follows. They were out there for a while, and, you just wonder what happened. And then my mom came in and got Eric, and he went outside and talked with them. I constantly ask questions.
Do you know what's going on?
Then one of my siblings had said something about he vandalized a school. Another one said something about that they were told that he and one of his friends had robbed a grocery store that they had been working at. His anger wasn't just in the house anymore. It was out there. He lashed out at people the same way he lashed out at me. As Eric got older, it wasn't uncommon for the police to come to our home. And the more frequently they came, he had to have done something really bad for them to keep coming. But I didn't know what.
Eric! Eric, come back here!
I just always wondered, what did he do now? Eric was a very, very handsome man and very charming. He knew how to charm the girls. He had a girlfriend almost always. And when Eric had a girlfriend that he really cared about, he would become basically a better person. I loved the fact that he was happy, because when he was happy, I felt safe. But once they broke his heart, it was another story. There was this one girl that really, really took Eric, I think, by surprise. He really liked her. And she was so sweet and just so beautiful. And she had the most beautiful red hair, just beautiful. Something happened. She broke up with him. And it literally just devastated him. It was almost like he kind of lost it. Eric would pace the floors and kind of talk to himself. He would pace and pace and pace and pace and pick up the phone and make a call, and she wouldn't answer. And slam the phone down and pace some more. He started driving by her house. Then he started knocking on the door. He wasn't good with being told no. It was the no that he couldn't take. I think that's what triggered something in him. He had an issue with women with red hair. In my point of view, I do believe that there was a trigger there. One day, I don't know why he and I went to town together, because we never really went anywhere together. But a girl approached him that apparently liked him, cute as she could be.
Hey, Eric.
Hey.
Good to see you.
And he was nice to her.
Good to see you too.
But when we went to walk away from her, I was like, well, she's nice. She's really cute. And he goes, well, her hair's not red enough.
She's pretty.
She's okay.
Then it did not mean a whole lot to me. But as years went by, that comment immediately came back into play in my head. I could just hear that comment and see the look on his face. But it didn't really mean that much to me at that moment. He started working in Oklahoma, and when Eric left home, it was like I could breathe. It was a relief. It was almost liberating, because I didn't have to live in fear. Things became normal, and I was finally of age to date. So I started dating this guy, dating for almost 2 years, and I ended up getting pregnant, a single teenage mom. I had my son, and as soon as I had him, my parents were leaving to go to Oklahoma because Eric had been arrested. I was told that Eric was arrested for robbery, but I remember one day Shortly after they had left, there was a phone call. My other brother was talking to my parents. And I kind of got a sense that this wasn't a burglary.
Are you serious?
What's going on?
So I point blank asked, what happened? Why is he in jail?
What'd they say?
He told me the truth
It's not good.
and said that Eric was accused of raping and beating 2 women at gunpoint. Eric had denied that he raped these girls. He had said it was consensual, but I believe that he did it. And Eric pled guilty to rape of the 2 girls and was sentenced to 23 years in prison. This was taken shortly after he got out of prison. Eric didn't serve his full term, his full sentence. He was released on good behavior, which almost is unthinkable to me. So many people thought he had changed and that he was doing so well and had a great job and was staying out of trouble. You would like to believe that he was going to make it and be a different person. But a few months later, everything did change for the worst. And in the worst way possible. My mom wanted to have a barbecue, a cookout, and all of us come and see Eric and visit and have like a little small family reunion. When I saw Eric, it was just nauseating. I did not feel comfortable. I wanted to be able to say, okay, he's changed, he's learned his lesson. But I had that bad feeling that something bad would happen again. And I didn't want to be a part of it. I actually said something to him at the grill. I said, I need you to be on your best behavior.
I hope you've really changed because Mom and Dad can't take much more of this.
And he said, I've served my time. And that's all he said about it, was I served my time.
Leave me alone.
It wasn't but a few months after I get this phone call. And it's my oldest sister.
Hello?
And she said, I need you to wake up. And I said, I'm awake. She goes, no, I need you to sit up and I need you to wake up. And I said, okay, what's going on? And she said, I have to tell you something. Eric was arrested for murder. When I got that phone call from my sister telling me that Eric had been arrested for murder, she told me, what had been put out there in the media.
October 11th, 1993. The night 18-year-old Julie Heath's car was found abandoned just west of Malvern. A week later, Heath's body was discovered in a wooded area, her throat slashed with a box cutter.
Apparently, her car had broken down on the side of the road. Somebody had stopped to pick her up to help her. And her body was found a week later by a hunter with some of her clothes turned wrong side out. Eric completely denied killing Julie. He said that these guys that were after him from Oklahoma, they had kidnapped this girl and made him watch them kill her and planted evidence that he would take the fall. And that if he didn't take the fall, then they would come after his family. That was the story he had told. When I heard that story, I did not believe a word of it. When I learned about Julie's death, I was thinking how scared she must have been, how long she suffered. It just crushed me. I mean, she's 18 years old, and this is my brother. If my brother can do something like this, then anybody can do something like this. And my whole life changed at that point. I'd never seen this before. Wow. I guess these were up all around town, I'm assuming. This should have never happened. It should have never happened. Had he still been in prison like he should have been, this little girl would still be alive. And he wasn't even out 6 months. It was like 5 months or something when he killed this girl. It was around Christmas time. And I had talked with the sheriff was it possible for me to bring Eric dinner. I was trying to do something nice, not for Eric really, as much as for my mother. I was trying to take weight off of her however I could. So I go up to the jail, and he's in this cell, and he comes over to the corner, and I said, hey, the sheriff said I could bring you food for Christmas, so what is it you want me to cook?
Why are you whispering?
Because I need you to do something for me.
And he said, there's one thing I want. And I said, okay. He said, I want you to get the murder weapon and destroy it. And I just stood there for a minute and I looked at him and I'm like, what? What? He's like, yeah, I need you to get it and destroy it.
Do you understand?
I had to look at this as my brother just admitted to me that he actually killed this girl. And this is the way that he did it, by telling me to get a murder weapon and destroy it. Why is he telling me this? Why is he asking me to do this? He didn't say what the murder weapon was. The actual place where he said it was an old abandoned gas station.
You know the one by the turnoff for the lake?
He goes, I'll give you a couple of hours, and then I'm going to call you at Mom's. And I said, okay. I said, okay, I'll do it. And why I said that, I'm not sure.
Promise me you'll do this.
Part of me thought, this is ridiculous. I really don't know what possessed me to go ahead and go. I really don't. I mean, I have asked myself that question for so many years. I drove out there and did as he asked. And I had no idea what I was looking for. And as I'm walking around out there, I'm thinking to myself, I can see him right now just laughing because he sent me on this wild goose chase. There's no murder weapon out here. He is playing typical Eric games, and it's a control thing. And I was getting ready to get back in my car, and then I saw this box of cigarettes that he used to smoke. And I just kind of kicked it over, and underneath it was this box cutter. And it was pretty evident that there looked like dried hair stuck to it. And I immediately just threw up. I lost it. I knew in my gut was the murder weapon. I didn't know what to do because I didn't want to touch it. Didn't have a cell phone back then. I pulled my sweater down over my sleeve and I picked it up, put it in the trunk of my car, and was like, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. I drove straight to my mother's house. I knew Eric was going to call me there. I got the phone call from Eric, and I got kind of choked up because I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to handle this at this point.
Yes, it was still there. I found it.
And he was in a good mood. He was happy. And he said, yes, that's it. And he said, did you burn it? And I said, yes. And he said, thank you for the Christmas present.
I have to go.
I felt horrible that I lied, but I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. I am turning it in. I had no doubt from the get-go. It was like he doesn't know me at all. If he literally thought I was going to destroy it. I go outside because at this point I've already decided I'm driving to the prosecutor's office.
Melinda, wait.
But then Mom comes flying out the door and is asking me, where is it? Where is it?
How can you do this? He's your brother. I don't have a choice.
One of my siblings had said something to my mother about me having the murder weapon in my trunk and that I was going to turn it in. She was in tears. It broke my heart, but I had to do what I was raised to do, what was best for my family. And I have a little girl. And if this was my little girl that this happened to, I would want whomever to do the right thing.
Melinda!
And that's why I did what I did. This is Julie Heath. I didn't realize how pretty she really was. She's a very pretty girl. Absolutely beautiful red hair. The red hair just really stood out to me. The first thing I think about when I see this picture is how in the hell he could take an 18-year-old girl's life. And when I learned that she had red hair, it just made me think that it was something about her red hair that may have set him off. The conversation that I had with Eric so many years ago, it just rung a bell. Her hair wasn't red enough. And I just kept saying that over and over in my head. Her hair wasn't red enough. And part of me feels like he enjoyed it because I know from how he tormented me, the things that he did, the joy that he got from it. And it makes me sick. It just makes me sick. And that's my brother. He ruined a lot of people's lives. I had already told the sheriff, I need to talk to him. I need to be the one to tell him what I did, that I lied to him and that I turned it in. And he said, I respect that. I can make that happen. And so I get in front of his cell. I remember him having this look on his face. It's like, what are you doing here at this hour? And I said, well, I came to tell you something.
I just finished giving them my statement downstairs. I wanted you to hear it from me, not from somebody else.
And I said, Eric, I turned the murder weapon in. I didn't destroy it. I turned it in. And he just kind of looked at me and his whole demeanor changed. The jawline got tight. The eyes narrowed. And the look in his eyes, I've seen it before. And it scared me.
I forgive you.
Then he smiled and said, well, come here, let me give you a hug. And it was just so out of character.
Come here.
And he reached through the bars. I moved so quickly that I almost fell trying to get away. Then you can hear him laughing, just laughing as if it was funny, like the whole thing was a joke. When I was leaving, I saw my mother talking to my brother's attorney. And she looked at me and she said, what did you do to my son? At that point, I knew that there was going to be a huge rift between my mother and I.
Belinda, this is all your fault.
And his attorney made it very clear that I put the nail in the coffin or the needle in his arm. He's like, you killed your brother. You just killed your brother. You know that, right? But I know that it wasn't me that killed my brother. I do believe that he deserved the death penalty. He never said he was sorry for what he did. He didn't have the remorse. He wasn't capable of that. The day before Eric's execution, I wanted to get some answers from him and arranged a phone call. I needed to know why he put me in the position he put me in. And deep down, I wanted him to say, because I knew you would do the right thing.
Eric, this is the last chance we'll ever have to talk. You owe me an answer.
And I said, okay, I need to know. I need to know why you put me in this position to have to turn in a murder weapon and testify against you. Why would you do that to me? And he said, I didn't want to put anybody else in that position. That isn't the answer that I wanted. I said, you don't know me at all. And I said, and I obviously don't know you. And unfortunately, that was our last conversation.
He was executed the next evening.
On the night of Eric's execution, I was in the recliner and I had been dozing on and off. And I don't know what it was, but something just woke me up and I said, it's over. It's done.
I can feel it.
And my ex-husband said, no, they haven't said anything about it yet. And then at the bottom of the screen came across that Eric Nance was executed and it had the time. And I have no way of explaining how I knew it. It was just weird. It was like I felt it. It was
Like I felt like it was finally over.
I kept playing over and over in my head his attorney telling me that you just killed your brother. And that seemed like it made it actually true. So I carried that burden for a long time, that I was responsible. I had so many people saying, oh, you killed your brother. Well, that's their opinion and they're entitled to it. But I didn't kill my brother. My brother killed a girl, a little girl. She was 18. That's a little girl to me. And he paid the price for it. He had to be held accountable for his actions. But it was very, very difficult. I lost a lot of friends over it. I got divorced. It is a very, very small community. So when a family member does something so horrific that he did, people associate you with that type of behavior. So you are now known as Eric Nance's sister. I don't have a name. I'm Eric Nance's sister. I do fear that there's more people like him out there. And it's made me very aware that he's not the only person in this world that's done these things or will ever do these things. I mean, I get terrified at times. I'm terrified because if my brother could do something like that, anybody could do something like that.
I blame myself for what happened. The coroner says it wasn't my fault. The police said if it hadn't been that night, it would have been another night and I wouldn't have been able to stop it. But they only died because he wanted to punish me. I'm angry. I'm broken. It is just torture. I don't want anybody to have to live the way I do. I don't live, I exist.
So let's...
Just give me a minute.
At first glance, an ordinary family house, but what happened here last night destroyed lives.
I will not speak his name. To call him by his name is to give him a presence. And he doesn't deserve a presence in this world.
There is a palpable sense of shock in this quiet residential street.
I'm not going to call him a man because he wasn't a man. He was just pure evil.
After the Sykes had divorced, Father Darren became vengeful.
No one could have anticipated what followed.
I despise him for what he's done. Everybody eventually started to see who he was, but it was too late by then. This photograph here was taken on our wedding day, and he got quite emotional and started crying, saying he was so happy and that he would love me forever. At that moment, we were happy. And then from that moment, things started to change. And I just feel sad for the younger me in this photograph. Little did I know what was to come. What started out as a fairy tale wedding turned into a nightmare. And thinking about it now, I feel slightly sick because he turned into a monster. How he turned from a prince to a monster in such a short time was scary. I first met Darren on the 19th of October in 1996 at a store opening. We both worked for the same company. He was a salesman. My first impressions of him was that he was arrogant and very self-confident. He was asking me out and it was like, not really interested, don't really want to meet you again, thanks but no thanks type of thing. And then the red rose came the next day and it said, please go out with me. The next day another red rose came and he sent a red rose for 3 weeks. I thought, wow, he must be really, really, really keen to send a rose for 3 weeks. And people were saying, oh, my boyfriend doesn't do that. I wish my boyfriend did that. And everybody was saying at the time, wow, he must really love you. Everybody thought he was a good guy. And I said I would go out with him.
Hi, Darren.
The way he hooked me in was with the attention. Darren bombarded me with love and tokens of gestures of affection. Every other week he'd send a bouquet of flowers. He was sending all these extravagant gifts. That's a warning sign. Now, with domestic abuse training, they now term it as love bombing. This is the first sign of their obsession. Makes you feel a little bit more special than normal. And that's a dangerous feeling to have because it blinds you to everything else that's around you. It's like a spider that's weaving this web, and then all of a sudden you're caught and you get snarled up in this web. That's the best way to describe it. He wanted control of everything. He would look at my emails. He would start going through my phone. I came home from work and there was a letter on the side and it had been opened.
Did you read my mail?
And I said, that's actually addressed to me. And he said, well, there's no secrets between us.
What's the problem? You trying to hide something from me?
I think he snooped because he wanted to own every aspect of my life. Nothing was just mine. And it got to a point where you feel like your every move is being monitored. I'd turn up at work and half an hour later, the phone would ring.
This is Claire.
And it would be him on the phone, just checking that you're okay.
Oh, that's sweet.
Then an hour later, the phone would ring again, and it would be him saying something like, oh, I just want to hear your voice. Oh, I just want to tell you that I love you.
I actually need to get back to work, so I'll talk to you tonight.
And by the end, I was having 40 phone calls a day. What comes across as very caring and very loving at the start starts to become very oppressive, very intimidating. And you feel like not one single moment of the day is yours because you're just being tracked all day long. I realised that spying on me was getting out of control. And when I found out that he was talking to my colleagues behind my back, I felt like I was being spied on. Like my whole life was being monitored. I wanted him to realise that his behaviour wasn't normal.
But he didn't see anything wrong with what he was doing.
It seemed like wherever I was, he was there. If I had a day off and I was meeting somebody for a coffee, he'd turn up. I was going out with the girls and I got ready to go and he said, oh, where are you going? So I told him where we were going. We went to the pub, we got the wine, we were talking, and he just turned up and sat down.
Hello, ladies.
And like all my friends were kind of looking and it was like, this is a girls' night. You're a guy. What are you doing?
Darren, what are you doing here?
He'd sit there as if nothing was wrong.
Just missed you is all.
At first, my friends thought he must really love you. But then after he turned up at a girls' night, they started to view things differently. My friends withdrew and felt like they couldn't talk about what they wanted to talk about that night. They just stopped inviting me along, stopped including me in things.
No one wants another drink.
And looking back, that's another warning sign that they're starting to isolate you from your friends. This is how it starts, and you don't even realise that the abuse has started.
I'm sorry. I didn't think he would just show up.
It doesn't take much to start feeling those old feelings again. It doesn't take much for me to feel useless and worthless. Abuse doesn't stay with the abuser. It stays with the abused. You carry those feelings with you always. New Year's Eve was when things really changed between us. That was the first time that I saw what he was capable of. We were going out for a meal with my mum and dad, and then an argument started.
Why are you wearing that?
And these insults are being hurled at you, very personal insults. I had just about had enough. And I just flipped and I said, I'm leaving. I've had enough.
You know what? I'm going by myself.
So he went and locked the door so that I couldn't leave the house. And that then made me realise I was trapped. I knew when he locked me in that it wasn't going to end well.
You're not going anywhere.
It was like a red mist would come over his face and there was a twist to it that looked evil. To see that was scary. It's almost like he had a split personality. And he punched me on my arm here, and there was a big bruise. I was angry that he'd hurt me and shocked as well. By this time, I was thinking, right, I'd just rather cancel tonight.
You know what? Let's just forget the whole thing.
But he said, no, you want to go out with your parents, so we're going out.
Now go upstairs and get changed.
So we went out that night, and my dad immediately picked up on the bruise, but I said I'd walked into the banister of the stairs, and that was the first time that I'd not been honest with my dad. I wish now that I'd told him the truth, but you cover up for people and you cover up for your own humiliation. He started being really pushy, wanting it all the time. It was like another thing that was on overdrive. Every night, he'd be wanting relations, and it's like, you don't want to have relations with somebody when they've made you feel like a piece of dirt, or when they've hurt you.
What are you doing?
What do you think I'm doing?
No, Darren.
It's invading your body. And you should be allowed to say no. But he didn't understand the word no.
I said no.
I would say no, and he'd carry on anyway. And there were many, many times he would force himself. You just feel used and dirty, and there's nothing worse or nothing more lonely. I used to lay there and then go in the shower, scrubbing myself in the shower because I don't feel clean. That feeling never goes away. You begin to feel like just an object. Looking back, it's another sign that things weren't right. Despite everything going wrong in the marriage, I didn't leave because the year that I probably would have left, I accidentally got pregnant with Jack. Perhaps Jack coming along would change him as a person, because people change when you have children. But it only made his behaviour worse rather than better. There was a day, and Jack was just 4 months old. Darren wanted some new furniture.
Oi, have a look at this.
And this had been going on for a long time, picking this furniture. All the decor was picked by him. They'd argued and argued and argued, and he was still saying he wanted the furniture that he wanted. So I just says, whatever.
Do what you want, I don't care.
He just lost his temper, and just like a child, picked up the heavy wooden chair, and he just threw it across the room at me, and it hit me on my ankle.
Are you serious?
He was infuriated that I wasn't giving him the response that he wanted. Now, Jack was on the floor, and it could have hit Jack. And it was a flashpoint for me, and I gave him an ultimatum and said, if you don't learn to control your temper, then I'm leaving and I'm taking Jack with me. I just walked out and went for a walk and walked and walked and walked. But I took Jack with me because I didn't trust him with Jack. And when I came back, he said, Don't take Jack away from me again.
You will never take my son away from me. Do you understand?
And that was the first warning sign that he saw the children as a possession, and that he thought he was entitled to the children more than me. And the next day, flowers would arrive. The worse the arguments got, the more the flowers arrived. I hate flowers now. If somebody gives me some flowers, I don't associate them with nice things. I just see it as somebody who can't say sorry. He went on the anger management course, worked for a while, and then just slipped back into his old ways. Leopards don't change their spots. In March 2002, Jack was born, and 3 years later, Paul was born. And they were two perfectly beautiful children, most precious thing in the world. But when the children was young, as a father, he wasn't involved. As a family, we didn't really have happy family moments. When you look at that photograph, he's smiling in that photograph as if he's the proudest father on earth. But that happy look on his face didn't last. Evil lurked within and raised its head more and more. It was him that was the monster that couldn't be stopped and would never change. I think as a man and as a father, he was jealous of their talent, and he was turning his spite and anger onto them. This was my 40th birthday, and there's Jack with his trumpet playing happy birthday to me. You can see in his eyes there that he's watching his dad. You can see the wary look on his face, and there's fear in those eyes. And that's because one day he wanted to do his practice, but his dad didn't want to hear him play his beautiful music. He wanted a television programme on, so he just took it out on Jack. His dad, out of spite, knocked his trumpet and made him cut his lip. And he ended up with blood running down his chin. This is Paul. That smile there, you can just see him lit up from the inside out. This was where he came alive. He just loved to run. In running, he was free. In running, he expressed himself. But one day, I was cooking tea, and then all of a sudden there was this hullabaloo, and Paul was crying, and he came into me, and he got red marks on his legs, and he says, "Dad's hurt me, Dad's hurt me." Darren had been twisting Paul's legs. He was supposedly play fighting.
We were just wrestling, having a little fun.
And because he was a runner, his father targeted his legs, because if he twisted his legs and hurt his legs, he wouldn't be able to run.
You could have really hurt him.
So it was his way of spoiling Paul's passion. He was jealous of his own child. In the end, I said that he needed to back off from Paul, and he needed to give him some space, and he needed to stop bullying him. And he said, "I'm not a bully."
He needs to toughen up.
I felt like I couldn't even leave him with them on my days off because I didn't trust him. And what does that say about him as a father when I feel like I can't trust him to look after the children? Paul didn't trust their dad. They'd been hurt by him. They were on eggshells with him. If we were sat on a big sofa, I'd be sat on one side and the boys would be crushed in with me as far in as they could. And they get the comments, oh, you don't want to sit next to me then? Well, why would you want to sit next to somebody who twists your legs? Or why would you want to sit next to somebody that makes your lip bleed? You wouldn't, would you?
What? I'm not good enough for you? Is that it?
They didn't want to be with him. It was me that had the bond with them. And he resented that bond because whenever they needed anything, it was me that they came to and not him. I don't want that photograph near me. That was the boys having an ice cream. As you can see on that picture, Paul's looking away. He didn't want to sit next to his dad. There's a space between them. And you can tell that he's on edge. Jack's tolerating him, but if you look at his body language, he's closing off from his dad. He's certainly not snuggling in and doesn't look happy to be sat there. That photograph just makes me feel ill and angry. One evening, I was sat on the sofa and watching the news, and on the news came this report that a father in Wales had killed his children and then hung himself. And I was absolutely heartbroken for that mum.
That's horrible. That poor mother.
And I said, how could he have taken those children's lives? How can anybody do that?
Can you imagine?
And Darren's answer was, well, I understand why he did it. Because fathers aren't treated the same way as mothers. And I just went cold because the tone of voice, he completely believed what he was saying.
That is a horrible thing to say.
It's true.
And I said, how can you say that? And he said, well, they're not. He understood exactly why that father took his children's lives away. And I was appalled. Nobody's got the right to take a child's life away. I found it incredible that he could even contemplate that, let alone understand why he'd done it. That was another warning sign for me. It was almost like a premonition. I knew inside that the children would not be safe with him. The boys were asking to leave. I didn't have the money to leave, and I knew that if I left, he would have access to the children, and if I wasn't there, who was going to keep them safe? I had a responsibility to keep them safe. Final straw for me came in 2014. The abuse was extending to the boys, and I realised that I had to leave. One evening, Jack and I were upstairs, and their father was up there, and he was getting on at him for doing his homework.
Enough fooling about. You've got a report to finish.
Jack came out with a flippant remark, and the next thing I knew was his father lunging towards him with his fist. The force of the impact spun me around and I fell down the stairs. And I realised that I could no longer stay. I knew I had to get out pretty quick because he could have locked the door, he could have done anything. I just quickly scooped them up and said, go to the car, go to the car. And they just ran to the car. And I just said, that's it. That's it. It was just survival mode. I saw this as an escape. That's when the real abuse started. His behaviour went out of control. He stalked me. He sent text messages to my family, abusive messages, which was absolutely horrible. The day that my divorce came through, I was taking the boys out for a meal, basically to lift the mood a little bit. And then, as I walked out of the restaurant and got in the car, the tyre on the driver's side was down. And when I looked at it, there was a big slash in the tyre. And I just went cold because I knew who'd done that. And I went back into the restaurant and said, have you got any CCTV footage? And they went, no, we don't have cameras. So I didn't bother to report it to the police because I had no evidence. And it would have been a she said, he said situation which could have made things worse. So I let it go. But I knew that we were in danger. Obviously, I believed that contact was not in the boys' best interest, and I had to go to court to ensure that the boys were kept safe. I was sat in the waiting area, being intimidated by him. He was glaring at me across the room, and he was verbally shouting.
Are you happy now? I bet you think you've won.
He was saying that I was manipulative, I was a bitch. I should tell the boys that it's my fault that they're not seeing their dad. But there was one sentence that he said, and that was, you will never have the children. You'll never have the boys.
You're not going to take them away from me. I promise you that.
I could see that his anger was escalating, but because there wasn't enough evidence of physical violence to stop him seeing the children completely, 5 hours access was granted. And when 5 hours non-supervised contact was issued, I almost fell to pieces. Given the behaviour in that courtroom, I knew that those children were in danger and I couldn't do anything about it. Nobody listened to the warning that I gave. Everybody thought he wasn't capable of murder, and I knew he was. On the 22nd of October, they had gone on an access visit to their father. The day started just like any other day. And as I dropped him off at school, I said to him, as I did every morning, love you. And they'd answer to infinity and beyond. They loved Toy Story. Those were the last words we spoke to each other in this world. Later on, I came home from work. I sat down. I just literally finished my tea, and there was a knock on the door. And I opened the door, and there was a policeman stood on the doorstep. We know each other. And when I came out, his face fell. And the first words I said was, what has he done? And the police officer said, there's been an incident at the house. He said, there's been a fire and you need to come now with me. The boys are at the children's hospital. And that's all I knew.
At first glance, an ordinary family house, but what happened here last night destroyed lives. A father, Darren Sykes, was at home with his 2 sons when a blaze took hold of the property. Fire crews battled through the heat to find all 3 trapped.
And I remember we got to Sheffield Children's Hospital. I walked into this little room and my head was saying, this isn't happening. And my heart was screaming in pain. And the medic said, are you Jack and Paul's mum? I said, yes. And he said, come with me.
The blaze broke out at around 6:30 last night. Neighbours said at first they didn't realise anyone was in the house because Mr. Sykes's van wasn't parked outside. By the time firefighters arrived, they found the father and his 2 sons on the ground floor, and attempts were made to revive them.
I saw Paul, and I saw them doing CPR on him, and his little body was bouncing off the bed. And reality hit like a slap. One part of my brain was screaming, that's my son, my 9-year-old little boy, lying there having CPR. They looked at me and they said, we're going to let him go now. And I said, no, you can't let him go. And they said, all we can do now is let him go. And they let me hold him in my arms. And I held him so tightly. His hair was wet with my tears. And I said, Paul, you can't leave. It's Mum, I'm here. And he looked at me and smiled. And then the light just went out of his eyes. And his beautiful blue eyes, they just went grey. And nothing was looking back. And the nurse came past and subtly closed his eyes. And then he just looked like he was sleeping. And to know that I would never hear his laugh, watch him run, have a future, and that I could only hold him as he died and told him that I loved him. I felt shame, pain,
and I felt as if I'd physically been torn apart.
The detective sergeant came from the family liaison unit and said that the fire had been set on purpose, it wasn't an accident. They told me that Jack had told the fireman that cradled him in his arms that his dad had done this.
Jack was found on the first floor. Conscious when he was taken to hospital, he told police, my dad started the fire.
He'd set at least 14 separate fires. The property was barricaded and there was no way that the boys would have got out. He'd used a mattress to barricade the living room and a kitchen chair against the kitchen door to wedge that too.
After the Sykes had divorced, Father Darren became vengeful. Sykes locked the house, doused it in petrol and set it alight.
Then they said to me, Jack's in the other bay if you want to come and see him. And they were running around and they were all sweating. And you could see on the faces the fear. I just lost one son and they were doing their damnedest to make sure that I didn't lose Jack too. This is 2 days after Jack was taken to Manchester to the paediatric intensive care burns unit. This is what I looked at for 5 days. And I'm sorry that I upset people when I show them these photos. But this is reality. This is real life. And this is what happened to my beautiful 12-year-old boy. He can't open his eyes, they're swollen and burnt. And he's on a ventilator because he's sedated. Most of his body was destroyed. He got these injuries from trying to rescue his brother and get out of a fire. And it kills me inside to keep showing this photograph. But people need to know the reality. This is what happens when people don't listen. I sat by this for 5 days. I couldn't do anything other than read to him and talk to him. Jack wasn't in pain there, he was sedated. But I hurt for him. And not being able to help him, I felt useless. And all I could do was pray. But it wasn't enough. The next day, he started to deteriorate. And if you watch medical programs and you see the line just go beep, that's exactly what happens. There was no heartbeat at all. The medics were devastated and they looked at me and I just waited for them to say it. And they called it. They told everybody to stop. And the room just went eerily quiet. All you could hear was the one machine with a single beat and just a line going across. I held him in my arms, but I didn't ask him to stay like I did Paul. I just said, be at peace, I love you. He heard that I loved him, and I told him to be at peace now. And I held him, and then the detective came from Penistone, and he said, now we're looking at a double murder. And nobody touched me. Nobody went near me. And I just curled up on the floor in a ball because the pain was just too much. I was really angry because I wanted him to face what he'd done. They asked me to take responsibility for his body, and I refused. My ex-husband did what he did because he couldn't accept that he wasn't loved, he couldn't accept that he wasn't liked. But the real reason why he did this was to punish me. Those boys only died because of me. They were taken away because he knew he couldn't have them. And if he couldn't have them, then nobody else could have them. I had a tattoo done and had their ashes mingled with the ink. I wanted them close to my heart. So the only place to make sure they were close to my heart was to have a tattoo done on my chest. To infinity and back. These are the last words that we spoke to each other in this world, and they were spoken in love, and I have that love now etched forever next to my heart. The promise that I made to my two boys as they lay dying in my arms was that I wouldn't let this happen to another child. These laws need changing, and they need changing now. So I've challenged the government. We're having a new domestic abuse bill, which has now taken 4 years, and we still haven't got it through Parliament. And if I can change these laws in Jack and Paul's names, then their legacy will live on long after I'm not around. That's what I'm fighting for, to make sure the right decisions are made for the child. Not for the parents, for the child. Because they can't protect themselves. Nevertheless, I should have fought the courts more, and I have to live with those regrets. The thing I regret the most is not walking away. There were signs and I should have left rather than stay and try to make the best of it. I wish he'd taken his own life and left the boys. I wish he'd taken mine and left the boys. But all I can do now is change the future. I can't change the past, but I can change the future. And that's what I'll keep trying to do.